given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill
The Bat of Gotham.
You don't really think you'll win, do you?
I'm Batman.
Hello and welcome to episode 154 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com and follow our Twitter at BatPodNetwork. Batman on Film is also now on Patreon if you like what we do here at BOF, whether it's the podcasts, vlogs, or the website itself, and you want to help support us if you're so inclined. Head over to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm and sign up. I am the host of the BOF podcast, Ryan Haas, and on tonight's show, we're going to discuss the exciting new casting news we just got for Matt Reeves' solo Batman film, and here to discuss that with me is none other than the infamous Rick Shew. How are you doing, Rick?
It's still, when you say infamous, it still reminds me of Three Amigos. He's not just famous, he's infamous.
It makes me think of J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson. Like, he's not famous, he's infamous.
He's infamous.
That's what I think of.
And by the way, you're doing a great job with the podcast, dude.
Thank you.
You really are. I mean, I pop in every once in a while. I'll host a Star Wars satellite show, whatever. But Bill's got me doing these damn vlogs with him. He's, I'm not allowed to do podcasts anymore.
Well, we've got so many really, really, really good contributors that are always super eager to come up with ideas for shows and do shows.
Ridiculous talent.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches, really, and I'm just trying to facilitate it all to make everybody happy, basically.
Absolutely, and just for the record, this is actually kind of nice, just being the two of us. We reached out to just a couple.
Yeah, having said all that,
we reached out to our friend Zach Hassan and Aaron Viola. We didn't reach out to our main guys because we really just wanted kind of one more person, and I don't want a big, those guys are going to fight over who gets to be on with us because we're so cool. Who needs that drama, right? No, yeah. But at the end of the day, and I love Zachy and Aaron, and I'm looking forward to doing a show with them again soon. It's nice just being on with you. This is we haven't done this in a hot minute. Yeah,
we probably did like a vlog or something that turned into a podcast. Was the last thing we did.
Well, we did our Star Wars.
Yeah, but that was with Courtney Jeek, so that wasn't just you and me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. This is all about me doing a podcast, BOF podcast. Period. You're talking specifically just you and I. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
But I'll have to just do this real fast if you don't mind, just the very top, because you're hosting this one, and just because I'm a Howard Stern fan like Bill, so I'll just do that. Hey now, okay, we're done. Okay, we're done.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
We're done.
I never do that. It's not my shtick.
And if you did it, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I could try to be like, "Hey now," it just sounds wrong. It just sounds stupid.
It's Gary Shandling show, which was so ahead of its time and just brilliant, and then it's kind of a Howard Stern thing. But
yeah. Anyway,
well, listen, we wanted to do we just want to have a quick conversation here, man. There's some Batman news. What's up?
So we did our Batman Day episode show of this podcast just this past weekend, which was a ton of fun. If you haven't listened to that, everybody go check it out. And then you and Bill did a vlog like yesterday, kind of covering some of the, just kind of your own celebration and, new stuff. But then that same day, like after y'all recorded, a bunch of Batman news dropped. And we were like, well, dang it. Should we wait to do an episode or do a vlog or something? And then we were like, let's just do a short podcast on it because that'll be fun.
And as of this recording, 8:49 p.m., 9/24/2019 Central Standard Time, I don't think the vlog is even posted yet.
I think it's posted.
Is it up?
I think it's
cool.
posted.
Right on. It had to have today at some point. So we're here just to talk about some what seem to be I don't want to say unofficial because it's coming from the trades, but when the trade's put out, this individual is being considered for this role, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be that person.
Or that it's confirmed, or that it's
right.
like, yeah.
And as you put in a private text yesterday, the sharing the Matt Reeves quote tweeting and with his emoji was better than a press release. Mm-hmm. And we've not even said his name, or have we? Did you say his name?
We haven't said we haven't said anything.
Well, go.
So piece of news.
I'm conflating off mic conversations with the official podcast. My apologies. I'm very rusty.
Man. Yeah. Well, thanks for admitting it. So, I mean, you're supposed to take the bait and say that, I just found out that Jeffrey Lyons is in negotiations to play James Gordon. And then I was going to be like, Rick, it's not Jeffrey Lyons, it's Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, good. That's a good inside joke. Hashtag inside joke.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Wright is in negotiations to play James Gordon and in Matt Reeves' Batman solo film, and THR broke the news, and that article did specifically say in negotiations, but of course other websites picked up and said it's confirmed he's in the movie or whatever, like they do. But Jeffrey Wright himself commented on the articles with a quote tweet with just a monocle guy emoji. and that's what, and that was what you were saying that I said is like, we don't really get press releases these days. The only press release official thing we get is something like that, where somebody like has a quote tweet emoji to acknowledge that a news item is a thing or not.
That's great fun. And to me, that means that he's in.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. But the question is like, it's Gordon, but is he Commissioner Gordon? Is he Lieutenant Gordon? Like, where is he in terms of his rank?
I don't know, film? And going to the Nolan films, Gordon wasn't Commissioner until the second
Correct.
film.
Yeah.
And really little more than midway through the second film. So
for
half that trilogy, he was Lieutenant Gordon. Will Matt Reeves follow a similar path? I don't know. It just sort of depends on where the timeline is in terms of Bruce Wayne's journey. And obviously with the Nolan trilogy, it was Batman Begins was an origin film. And so obviously Gordon was, and Nolan did a brilliant job of having Gordon and Bruce as a young boy and with the coat and then tying that in and Rises. Oh, all just so beautiful. But what is Matt Reeves up to? Who knows? And does he even have a quote unquote trilogy up his sleeve? I'm hoping that he does. I like the idea of him mapping out an epic story, and whether or not it's has a definitive beginning, middle, end like the Nolan trilogy does remains to be seen. But all I know is I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm getting more excited when this news breaks. And listen, I don't know much about this guy's work. So, and I would ordinarily for a podcast like this prepare for that, but we were texting 2 hours ago, and we're doing this pretty spontaneously. I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet. Like,
is this show just about like what we've texted privately to each other over the past couple of days?
Well, maybe, and that's okay. And maybe it's cathartic that we just get it out to the masses. I can just say that I'm excited for the casting because I just think that guy's cool. And and I've also learned, especially with comic book films, and DC films, in particular, is don't prejudge casting, especially in a negative way, because almost always we've been burned. And after Ledger's performance, after Anne Hathaway, after going back to Michael Keaton, etc.,
Affleck,
all day long, Affleck, right?
Everybody,
right? Amazing that just want to say this real fast: the people that were so pissed off about Affleck were the ones years later that were the most pissed off that he wasn't in the film anymore. I got to thinking about it, and I looked up his filmography and stuff, and the big popular thing that he's in right now is Westworld, which I have not watched, which I should watch because I think there's a Nolan involved in that show. I think Jonathan Nolan's involved in that. Yep. That's a creative dude too, man.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And Person of Interest, like, man, he's great. But Jeffrey Wright, he's in Hunger Games. He's a supporting role in that, and he's in the quite a few of the Daniel Craig James Bond films. That's where I've seen him the most.
Yep.
But he definitely he's like I've seen him described in articles talking about this news as I think Richard Newby's article in commenting on THR described him as a kind of a chameleon of an actor, which is probably true. I think it's definitely a thing, and that's good actors can do that. But he definitely has this world weary, I've seen some stuff look to him, and that's like a perpetual thing that you just kind of need in Gordon. The glasses on with the rubbing the temple with your hand, like what is this? But he's he's not a super young Gordon. He's not a super old Gordon. He can probably get into the thick of some stuff. I think it's just kind of a cool, fresh casting. Like you say that name and you're like, wow, okay, that sounds cool. Well, and
let's address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Now, you and I don't see the world this way, but there's some fan reactions about somebody not being necessarily comic book accurate, and maybe that's the race of the gentleman. I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
we see that. I mean, we see it with every character. Aquaman,
It's God, you're right. It's not. But it seems to be. It's elevated when it's a. Especially if it's a gender swap, something like Ghostbusters. But but
we saw with Aquaman, we saw with Birds of Prey, even with not Huntress but Black Canary.
Okay, people
were pissed about that.
So the racist jerks of the world don't even deserve a seat at the table for those conversations. We'll just set those jerks aside. But don't sweat and I think there's some good faith argument sometimes. Like I don't care, man. Like race, I just want my character to look like the character that I know from the comics. But just get that out of your head. There wouldn't have been. And Bill and I actually talked about this today.
There's a level of adaptation regardless.
There wouldn't have been a black police commissioner in 1940. Okay, there just wouldn't have been, unfortunately, in the United States. And so that's I think it's fantastic that he is. I don't want to get into a social political thing here, but look, Perry White, Lawrence Fishburne, and
he was so good.
He was fantastic, so absolutely, and that's what we're getting here. And to me, it's kind of like a thing where. Let's face it, man.
I missed him in Justice League. He wasn't in Justice League, was he?
No, he
so
wasn't.
Weird.
That was problem number 379 with that movie.
Yeah.
But sorry, Chris Claw, if you're listening, I know you love it. But oh man, I just lost my train of thought. We started talking about Justice League and Lawrence Fishburne. Where was I going with that, Ryan? Help me out here. It's late. Lawrence Fishburne,
don't prejudge casting. Period.
Don't prejudge casting. Period. That's where I'm going with all this. And I know what I was going to say is that I know that we had J.K. Simmons as Gordon in Justice League, but that doesn't really count. As brilliant of an actor,
he's everybody. He's Gordon. He's J. Jonah Jameson.
But But I'm going to say he was barely in one movie, right?
Right. We hardly knew him.
Right. We hardly knew him, unfortunately. But this is truly a follow-up. Oh, no, okay. When I say a follow-up, let me refresh myself here.
Follow-up, reboot, refresh.
What I mean is this is the first real Gordon post The Dark Knight trilogy. Both post Gary Oldman, right?
If we got a new Joker in this movie, would you say that the same thing about that?
I'm saying,
Jared Leto.
I'm saying it. Quite frankly, with Joaquin Phoenix, I'm saying that's a...
Yeah, no, I'm not even putting him in. That doesn't even count.
Okay.
Mainline,
Oh, I see.
Status quo.
You're talking,
Batman movie.
like absolute continuity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like Jared Leto's Joker, quite frankly, and so I'm kind of alone on that. It's funny, is I like Jared Leto's Joker, and I like Homeboy's, what's his name? I like his Lex.
Oh yeah, you're alone on that one.
Social Network.
Jesse
Mark, Jesse. I can't. I get Mark. I can't. He's Facebook.
The real Mark.
Yeah. And I know he's not. He just played. He played him brilliantly. But I like what Snyder was doing with that Lex. I do. I got it. It made sense to me. It worked. But anyway, going back to all this, man. I just think this guy. And again, I don't even know much about his work. I YouTubed a couple of stuff. I mean, obviously he has talent, but that dude just looks cool. And who cares if it's not? Man, what the hell does comic book accurate mean anyway? I mean, to a certain extent, obviously that there's something to be said for that. But there's so many interpretations of characters throughout their existence in comic book runs with different artists. And even if you on its face take that statement, what does that mean? Look at Batman in comics. I mean, it's
real.
Right? Seriously, and so. I just think that people need to park that nonsense and don't prejudge. I haven't prejudged casting since, and if you call me out on one time, I have jokingly. I mean, really, truly been concerned about casting since. Man, really, I think Heath Ledger was. It wasn't like I was concerned or pissed off. I was just kind of confused. But after that, I was like, I'm never.
Did you question Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman? A lot of people did.
Not really. No. Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of tacky, but she's just always been so drop dead gorgeous to me that I'm really biased. I'm like, just put her in anything. I don't care. And it turns out she's actually very talented. No, that was more the John Campias of the world, obviously. But no, she's insane. She's great, and also just happens to be incredibly charming and talented at the same time. No, I don't think I have, man. I did with Gal. I'm sorry, with Heath. Just because it was so unexpected, and I learned my lesson. I mean, I was old enough to live through the Michael Keaton stuff with Batman. I was in high school, and I should know better than to ever have done that after that. Because Michael Keaton is an awesome Batman. Yeah,
and the Heath Ledger thing happened, right when I was about to graduate high school. And no, I was in college then. My senior year in high school was Batman Begins. So I was in college for the Dark Knight. But that was kind of like, I was still, in early college, and that was the first major casting thing where I was like, whoa, what is this? And it was kind of like a first adult fanboy test. Like, how angry are you going to get when something doesn't jive with exactly what you think? And that whole experience was great because it did teach you, like, hey, watch the movie.
Don't question it. And I've talked about this on previous podcasts.
And then some things are obviously like, this is going to suck, like, the Halle Berry Catwoman or whatever.
Right, but that's different. It wasn't her fault.
That's different.
And I know I've said this on podcasts years and years ago with you on board, so you may have heard this, but back in the day, man, I was really big into Anne Rice. And I remember when the Vampire Lestat, actually it was Interview with the Vampire specifically, was made, and Tom Cruise was cast, and I was like, you got to be kidding me! That's not Lestat. That's not that dude, and he's so good in that movie. Like, he is Lestat. It doesn't look like you would have pictured him to look or how he was described in the book, but it didn't matter. It was all about the performance. And here we are with Robert Pattinson, and then we're going through this again with some of this other casting. I just don't care anymore. I'm going to trust these directors until they give me a reason not to. And quite frankly, with Robert Pattinson, I'm so excited for his casting. I think he's so incredibly talented, and I think he's so into this role. And I think this is going to be a labor of love. I think this is going to be a labor of love with a bunch of people that really want to make this work, and so I'm excited.
Yeah. And make it fresh and interesting. Like, he's going to be the focal point for all these other characters to revolve around. So you just always keep that in mind with each of these new castings. It's like, Suicide Squad is this ensemble piece, and they all have to work together. But like, in this, it's like Pattinson's Batman, and he's definitely the focal point. So you've got to kind of think in your mind how each new casting person is going to work with him.
This is the part of the journey that's so fun, is the casting, and then we'll start getting like pictures, and then we'll get a teaser. Let's just enjoy the ride. All right, there was another person that's rumored, man. What's that?
So like we were still in the midst of discussing this Jeffrey Wright news when there was something else that came up that was like, hey, also, guess what? Jonah Hill is in talks for a role in the film, and that story evolved a little bit as through the day when that started to break. So at first he was in talks for a role in the film, and then as we got more information, Deadline broke the news that it was, because I was speculating. Well, all we heard at first was a role. So I'm like, what does that mean? It's a secret. They say it's a secret role. They don't know what it's going to be. I'm like, is he a hero? Is he a villain? Is he an ally? What is he? But then we found out that it's a villain, and then the two things at the top of the list in terms of what villain that could be is he could be the Penguin or the Riddler is the most most rumored thing,
right.
But it's not a set in stone thing yet. And he and Jeffrey Wright's more of a done deal than Jonah Hill. His offer's still on the table. They're still negotiating it. And him being Riddler or Penguin is not set in stone apparently because his camp and the Warner Brothers and stuff, they haven't made up their minds on which role he wants to take. It seems that he's kind of up to him to choose which one, because I guess they're both going to be in the movie. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and for
not just the characters, but the fact that like they want Jonah Hill in the movie in some capacity.
Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
I have not seen that movie, but I've heard he's great in it. And he got nominated for an Oscar for it, right? So
he's great in that little thing you emailed me earlier, Moneyball. I forget he was in that. He's also great in that. And,
I've heard good things about his. He directed a movie this summer too. It's called Mid-90s, and I've seen the trailers. It looks really interesting.
So
I want to watch it.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the kid from Superbad or whatever that was, I mean, look.
That's a small part. That's a small part of his,
right.
Heath Ledger was in 10 Things I Hate About You, and I mean, it's like actors can be in different things.
Right,
they're actors.
And
My God.
And until you're at a point in your career, which most actors aren't, most actors don't even get to work like those guys do. Trust me firsthand, I know. Trust me, I have to accept that reality every day. But is the fact that they're not choosing their roles. It's just work, right? Like I feel like I'm a trained actor with an education in it and a semi-impressive resume. If someone asked me to be in some shitbag ridiculous movie for $20,000, I'd go sell my soul for that thing just to work. So you can't look at an actor's resume. I mean, once Robert De Niro starts going off and doing crappy films, then you can say, yo, man, you don't have to go do that. What are you doing? Or when Eddie Murphy had that streak of a bunch of bad films.
Pluto Nash.
Yeah. Then you can kind of judge that. A, you don't need the money, and you don't even need the work. What are you doing that for? But the actors are defined. These guys are defined by their most recent work, and that's how they should be looked at. And that's why I'm excited about someone like Robert Pattinson. That's why I think he is a great choice. And whether or not he is Penguin or Riddler, look, the go-to thing in my head is Penguin, and it's a little bit of just a natural stereotype, I think, because of his old physical appearance. But that dude is not big anymore either.
Right? Yeah, and it's interesting. Right. Yeah, I mean, Penguin. Both of those characters are kind of due for a fresh interpretation on film, specifically.
You think?
Yeah, Riddler's the most obvious one, but Penguin could definitely get some upgrades or some fresh takes. I mean, the comics and specifically in the video games, like in the Arkham games, and definitely in the Telltale series, their interpretation of the Penguin was very, very unique and kind of. I mean, he was like a skinny tech dude with an edge, basically.
Yeah, okay. I dig it.
And he had and they put in extra backstory about how he was almost kind of Hush-esque, where Oswald Cobblepot and Bruce Wayne were always friends when they were kids, but Oswald was always kind of like on the dark side and kind of he's kind of a bully and stuff, but Bruce kind of was still his friend, and they both came from money. They both came from wealth and affluent families in Gotham, and some things happened to where the Cobblepots were, their family name got shamed and stuff like that, and he started lashing out and stuff, and so he kind of got darker and deeper into the crime element of Gotham and stuff, and while Wayne, ascended to being, the Bruce Wayne or whatever. So, and there's a lot of, cool backstory and stuff, and if they take any kind of route like that in Reeves' movie, it could be a pretty interesting angle that we haven't seen too much of on film. In terms of a villain's interaction with Bruce Wayne. I think one of the examples that comes to mind the most, it would probably be somebody like the Riddler in Batman Forever, actually.
Right.
So,
hey, quick! I don't mean to. That's all great stuff.
Go ahead.
Is Andy Serkis still tied to this project?
He never really was to start with. I mean, there's been a rumor just because he's.
I know he never
he's
did
worked
official,
with,
but I just didn't know if that was still something that was.
I mean, the rumor is that he's going to be involved somehow because he's obviously worked with Matt Reeves a lot in the past and with the Planet of the Apes movies, but he is going to be pretty busy directing Venom 2, so I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, he's doing that. So he could definitely still show up in some capacity as something. But he'd have to juggle it with directing a movie like that. So I guess we'll still see, if, I would imagine if he was in the movie, it wouldn't be anything super major.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know how these schedules and stuff
I always
seem to work.
Just really wanted him to be Penguin, but I mean.
Yeah, he'd be a fantastic Penguin.
Really
but it all depends on, and that's the thing, it's anytime somebody gets cast in a role like this, your tendency is to like project what you think about the character, what you know about the character, what you want for the character, but that might not be what the director. It might not match what the director wants or what the story even is. Like, if you wanted to cast, I don't know, some like a Woody Harrelson kind of guy for the Joker in The Dark Knight, that probably wouldn't. You might think, oh, that's who I wanted, but that might not have really worked because of the way that they wanted to portray the Joker in that movie or something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's not always gonna, it's Batman Begins. You wouldn't cast an old dude as Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins. So it's all down to like the director and what the story is and what the interpretation is. And it's just like any creative team. I mean, whenever you read a comic book, you don't just love everything that comes out because it's just like what you remembered. Everything you like came from something. Everything changed from some story.
Sure. Absolutely.
You need that stuff for things to become your favorite things or the best examples of things. And people need to do different things to elevate the genre. Otherwise, it'll just be a stagnant thing. Like, why are we making a new Batman movie if we're not going to try to push it?
Right, you got to push it. And so we can say, kind of wrapping this part of the podcast up, that the casting so far is great. Don't prejudge. Let's trust Matt Reeves. This is exciting. Don't be a racist jerk. What else?
Hey, I mean, we talked about this before. I think on 150, like you asked what our anticipation level for the Batman was at the time, and I said it was like a B. I mean, and I think I was made fun of for it because I was like, well, we don't know anything, but now we know a little bit more, and this kind of stuff is always encouraging. It's like, yeah, that sounds great.
And I talked about this on the most recent Batman film vlog with Bill, is that I even got more excited for Robert Pattinson when I started exploring his work and watching some of his films. I was like, okay, this kid he's no joke. But that interview that he did with Variety, is it Variety? I
believe Variety.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. And they released the actual video of it, and he's just so charming and so cool. And when they started talking to him about getting cast in this role, and he goes into how there's so many different things that you can do with this character that you haven't really seen on film, which obviously to me means they're really going into the detective aspect of Bruce, and I think we're going to get a lot of that. Obviously, there's a lot of things that Matt Reeves is inspired by, like the Chinatown and that sort of, I don't know, that the word film noir is something that I feel like sometimes is kind of overused and a little overwrought, but it's that feel, that sort of, it's hard to even put your finger. I just get it. I get what Matt Reeves is saying, and I feel like I kind of have at least an understanding where this is going. And I, for one, am completely on board. And when I saw him talking about that, and then the guy from Variety said, or Hollywood Reporter, whoever it was, said, so when did you learn that you got the part? And he paused for a second.
Yeah.
He's like, my first day with Chris, because he's filming a movie right now with Chris Nolan. And he's like, isn't that just crazy? Or whatever he said. And you're going, that really is, I would love to be a fly on the wall in some of those conversations, I think that's just the coolest. So anyway, so let's just enjoy the ride, right? That's I don't want to end this podcast on kind of a down note or anything, but I think this is just worth mentioning. I know you and I talked about this off mic, and you had mentioned it too on the conversation we had earlier on the phone. But it is a little interesting that shifting gears here to go to the Joker movie.
It comes out next week. So
yeah, and in fact, I'm seeing it on Monday night, I think, with Brian Chapman. We get to go see it a couple days early, and we'll put up a video review of it. I probably won't write one because Bill will, and there's no reason to put up multiple ones. But anyway, it's interesting. Warner Brothers put out a press release, an actual press release, and it said that right here. Okay, make no mistake, neither the fictional character Joker nor the film is an endorsement of real-world violence of any kind. It's not the intention of the filmmakers of the studio, to hold this character up as a hero. And this also coincides with the fact that they will not be screening this film at the theater in, what's the town?
Aurora, Colorado.
Aurora, Colorado. Yeah, I'll make sure I say that town right. Which obviously was the the horrific mass murder, mass shooting at during the Dark Knight Rises screening and opening weekend, and the killer identified himself as the Joker. So I can understand that. They extended this release a little bit here. It looks like it says Warner Brothers has a long history of donating to victims of violence, including Aurora. In recent weeks, our parent company joined other business leaders, calling police policymakers to enact bipartisan legislation to address this epidemic. Okay, so that gets into kind of a political thing about guns. But anyway, I agree with you. I think it's kind of just worth mentioning. It's sad that they even have to go there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason they made, the reason that Warner Brothers addressed this is because they, were sent a letter from victims and families and friends of victims of that shooting to Warner Brothers. And, a lot of the reporting around it was kind of poor because they like to sensationalize the headline of like, Aurora victims say Joker movies shouldn't be released and stuff like that. But that's not actually what what their letter was about. If you read it, it's kind of, it's, I think they've got a kind of the right approach here. I mean, they're not, they're supporting the studio's right to make the film, and they, freedom of speech and artistic expression is something that they obviously support, that they said that they do support, of course. But they're using this, basically they're using the release of this movie to bring up, as a platform to get people to listen and do something and have some action. They basically, they're like, yeah, make your Joker movie, but maybe you guys can step up a little bit and have the studio to take some steps to, get them involved in the gun control movement.
Right. And
this could be a left.
I was about to say, I actually have a platform for these discussions, and so that's not to get too much into that on this show.
I mean, it is. I mean, it just is kind of indicative of the society right now that we saw back in 2012. We've seen it, in the country. We've seen it, and we're experiencing again where, it's a fictional movie about a fictional character, about, it's related to one of the greatest characters in fiction, and it seeps out into the real world in complex and bad ways, and it sucks.
Yeah, no, it does. It sucks. So that's probably a good thing. They're turning something horrible, and they're trying to at least make it somewhat positive or encouraging. Now, let's end on a positive statement on that, though. It was worth mentioning. I am super stoked for that film, dude. I'm so excited. Yeah. I am too. I mean, it's crazy. I don't think, I was just texting with you earlier, but I don't. I'm going to be in. That's another thing. Me and Pete and Eric are all going to be at New York Comic Con next weekend, covering it for BOF. So that's also when our Joker watch party is going to be on Saturday the 5th. The details, you can find it, on BOF proper and on the social media channels and stuff like that. It's on Instagram things. I don't think I'm going to get to see the movie until Saturday, which just feels so bad as a fan like this, but I'm going to be a little preoccupied, and we're going to see it in IMAX and stuff. So I don't think it'll be too hard to ignore everything else with New York Comic Con going on. But yeah, I'm super excited to see it. Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a game changer in a lot of ways. I think it's obviously the reviews already, the early reviews have been great. And I'm not reading these reviews of just opportunists that want access to stuff. I mean, we're seeing some legit people come out and saying some legitimate things about this film. And the little bit I know about it, I know that it's certainly not what people are probably going to expect. And that's a good thing, right? So, yeah. All right. So Joker movie's coming up. The Batman is rolling along. We've got Birds of Prey. We've got Wonder Woman 84.
The Suicide Squad.
Quasi.
Aquaman 2.
Aquaman 2. It's really neat, man. And obviously, outside of DC, there's, Marvel's got things up their sleeves, as always. We got D20. I signed up for a
Disney Plus.
I was gonna say D23. Disney Plus. Thank you. Stoked.
I pay for something. I don't know what it is. But
I'm stoked.
Disney. All my favorite movies are Disney movies. I don't even know.
Yeah, right. That one day I put up my favorite movies, and most of them were. I was like Endgame and Last Jedi. And I'm like, oh, these are all Disney films. Moana. I mean, right. So it's such an exciting time to be us. And Star Wars is around the corner, obviously, later this year. I mean, that's coming up quick, man. Episode 9 is coming up quick. It's great. It's just a great time to be involved in all this. So why don't we do some plugs and leave on this high note and get the heck on out of here?
Yeah, so of course, follow me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan and follow the Batman Podcast Network on Twitter at BatPod Network. And the Azrael Agent of the Bat Podcast is still in the works, and we are recording a bunch of episodes and banking them before it officially gets released. But if you want to go ahead and pre-subscribe to it, you can. So just go over on Twitter to that show, and it's at Azrael Podcast.
Cool. Follow me on Twitter at Shewrick, SHEWRICK. Content coming up on BOF. We have obviously the new vlog. If it's up now, it will be tomorrow for sure. I know, which will be what will tomorrow be? Wednesday. I'm so behind.
Tomorrow's Wednesday,
the 25th of September 2019, and then Brian Chatland and I will put up a video review of Joker on Tuesday morning. So be looking out for that. And we got a lot of, Brian obviously is doing a great job with the podcast. I still have some satellite shows that I want to host that are coming up. Certainly stuff with Star Wars. Check out me and Bill's vlogs, and just, thanks for supporting Batman on Film, guys. It's awesome.
And all the comic book reviews. Those are great.
Yeah, just everything. All the content, all the things that all these guys are doing. It's a labor of love. I've said that earlier about the Matt Reeves Batman film. I'm saying that about Batman on Film because that's what all this is. It's a labor of love.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that wraps up today's episode. For Rick, I am Ryan. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/jet.batmanonfilm. Email Jet via jet@batman-on-film.com. I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.